So today we would be starting with our QR code tattoo. My client today wants to dedicate his tattoo to his parents. He wants the tattoo to be minimal and yet very trendy. He found the idea to get the QR code tattoo very impressive. QR code was developed in Japan in the year 1994. It was created to keep a track of automotive parts. It was designed to allow fast decoding. For his tattoo, he would like to get the QR code for his favorite picture of his parents that he has shared on Instagram. He is very sure that this picture would remain forever on Instagram. For today's tattoo, I am searching for the keyword QR code generator. And I am going to select the second link here. So now on this website, I can see that there is a space here to paste the link. A QR code can be generated for a website link, a message, a contact, a video, and many more. As for today's tattoo, I have the URL ready for Instagram post. So I'm generating the QR code for this now. If you observe, this QR code is very detailed and cluttered. On this website, there is an option here to shorten the link just below where I have pasted my link today. So by this, I can get a simpler QR code that can be rendered into my tattoo today. So this is how my QR code looks. And as you can see the difference here, both the QR code are for the same post. However, I choose the simpler one for my today's tattoo. The website gives me the chance to save the code as a PNG format by right-clicking it and then saving the image. Now that I have the design saved, I'll continue with sizing and printing this design. And for this, I'm using Adobe Illustrator. So on Illustrator, towards the left side, I click the option to create new. Then I select the A4 size of a page. And I want the sizing options to be in inches with a vertical orientation. Now on my new page, I can drag the image that I have saved earlier. So I'm selecting the first size of the QR code to be about 1.2 inches. And then the second one can be a 2 inch. And the third one slightly bigger, around 2.2 inches in length. With all these different sizes printed on an A4 paper, I would take a call on what size would look good on my client's hands. A stencil for a tattoo like this can never be made manually because the QR code is very detailed. It is always recommended to get the stencil printed from a digital printer. I'm going to print this on my printer, and as you can see, I'm using the Epson series of printer. Always remember to invert the stencil before printing it so that it can be read clearly while scanning it. So now as this design is ready, I will print this stencil and we can start the tattoo. As a design like QR code is very precise and sharp, there are a few conditions that needs to be met before preparing for such a tattoo. The placement of this tattoo needs to be on a flat placement. The reason for this being the QR code can be scanned and read clearly from the QR code scanner. Make sure that you do not put the stencil on a spot where the design would be warped. For example, at a spot like this, there are high chances that the design can be warped. And because of this, it would be difficult to scan the code. So always make sure that the location of your stencil placement for a tattoo like this needs to be on a flat surface. Also make sure the location of your stencil placement needs to be clear from any birthmarks, molds, scars or bumps. Now I'm moving away the armrest to get the natural position of the arm. And now to mark the stencil placement on his forearms. I'm using a ballpoint pen for this. I'm marking the center point on his forearm on the top and the bottom. Now I'm connecting these points by a straight horizontal line. Now my stencil will be placed exactly in the center of this line. With a ballpoint pen, I'm marking through the stencil paper on the top and the bottom edges. Here I'm gently wiping off the excess pen marks with the use of a sterilium and a tissue. Remember that in tattoos like a QR code, the stencils can never be made manually. And it is almost impossible that a stencil can be hand drawn for a tattoo like this. The stencil that I have today is printed by a machine, and due to which all the details of the QR code will be visible. And now I would be transferring my stencil on the client's skin. For this, I'm using the LOX 2% gel. I'm applying a layer of this gel on the skin. And as you can see, I'm spreading this gel evenly on the skin. I have to make sure that there is a very thin layer of this gel. Never apply too much of LOX gel on the skin, because this would increase the chances of the stencil getting smudged. Here, while putting the stencil on the skin, I am making sure that the markings that I have made on the stencil before needs to be exactly on the marking that's on the skin. While putting stencil on the skin, I'm holding the stencil in such a way so that I can see the edges that I have marked. This gives me a clear vision on the location where I am placing the stencil. Now once I have placed the stencil on the skin, I am applying some of the gel on top of the stencil. I'm doing this so that the stencil would be durable for a longer tattoo session. Be very careful that there is not too much of LOX gel on the stencil. I'm going to let this dry for about a minute and wiping the excess gel away from the skin. Now after a minute, I'm removing the stencil from the edges. Once I have placed the stencil on the skin, I have to make sure if all the boxes and the lines are transferred correctly on the skin. Now to make sure that the stencil can be read from my phone, I'm using the QR code scanner. And this is very important to make sure the stencil can be scanned before beginning the tattoo. Now, as the stencil is placed correctly and it also can be read with my QR code scanner, I am now ready to do this tattoo.